Good morning and welcome to the Blueprint. I want to welcome my guest, architect slash builder, Steve Schill of Westlake, Ohio. Steve, thank you for doing this and welcome. How are things for you?
Things are very good. Things are very busy right now.
It's always that way for you. So it doesn't matter if there's a housing shortage, if the economy's tanking. It seems like you are always busy. And why? What is your secret to success that you're always busy? Because I've known you for 30 years and I've never known you to be not busy.
I'm just very fortunate to work with some really nice people that want to accomplish some nice dreams.
What time do you start your day?
I'm an early bird. I'm usually up by 3:30 or 4. I get to the office by 5:30 or 6. I like to get out information I design in early hours in the morning because the phones aren't ringing and emails are not coming in, and I can think in my own peaceful mind.
And you've kept that schedule up for as long as I've known you.
It started out when I first had children. I didn't want to miss any of their school activities, so I would go to work early so that I could sneak out early to get to their activities, and it's just kind of stuck forever. And it's part of my secret sauce.
All right, Steve, let's get into this. Why don't you tell us your background of your education, when you wanted to become an architect, what the process looked like, and how you reached the pinnacle of your career where you're at right now?
Well, I've wanted to be an architect since I was 8 years old. I've knocked on enough doors that I got a job in an architectural firm when I was 15. Started out making blueprints and emptying trash. Rolled into a more significant role, and I've been doing that to the point where I'm at now, and it's never stopped. My education, I went to Kent State University. That's because I was kind of like a homebody and didn't want to go too far from home. But I had a great education there that has turned into everything that I have nowadays. But I was also fortunate enough to spend some time in Italy studying classical architecture over there during my fourth year of college. Architecture back then was a 5-year program. It is now a 6-year program. But during my fourth year, I was able to spend time in Italy.
Did you know early on in your education that I'm doing residential, or do you study everything and then find your niche?
Well, you study everything. They educate you on everything. But what I thought I wanted to go to New York City and design 100-story buildings, I found out after I did some commercial when I started my firm when I was 29 years old that I didn't really care for commercial, and then moved into residential, all sizes of residential. I mean, now I'm known for doing a lot of bigger houses, but we do everything.
Do you still do what I would call mid-level housing? Let's say 4,000 square foot to 2,500 square feet. Is that still in your wheelhouse?
Sure. I mean, we do all types of work. We like working. It's not so much the size of the house; it's working with the right people.
So you're not working for any particular builder. You don't have your own subdivision. It's just word of mouth. Steve Schill, he's the guy for this.
Sure. Most of my work, not most of my, all of my work is referral. I don't advertise. I work for some really nice people that when we're done, they refer me over to their friends and family. I'm now doing multi-generations of the same family houses for them. And we just put our head down and go to work every day.
When you're doing, again, let's call it a 4,000 square foot and under home, is there something or a strategy that you try to convey to the client for maximizing space, functionality in the floor plan? Are you working with their budget?
Well, I do 4,000 square foot houses that there's a wide variety of the pricing in those houses. Some people like wide open houses. Some people like more compartmentalized houses. So I just work to what their vision for this dream is.
So there's not a trend in a way a floor plan is that size as opposed to a trend in the luxury home. And what I
No, I
mean by
mean,
that, let's go back to our relationship. We didn't touch on yet. What were trends in houses back then? Sunrooms, bump outs, um, a hearth room. Are things like that stuff that people incorporate in new construction today, or are there things that I have not even actually seen yet?
no, I mean, I think to your point of hearth rooms and sunrooms, things like that, that's back when houses were more conventional and people were looking to add components onto them. Now that people have lived in those houses, either as children or as adults, and are doing a new one, they're just incorporating that all into the same space. So there's not a sunroom, there's not a dining room. They just say, put that into the main living area of our home.
So the trend that was happening, and again, in new construction, I would assume dining rooms and living rooms are going away or are gone.
I would say they're going away. They're not gone. Some people still have individual components like that, but more and more people are saying, just give me a big space where we can fit everybody in rather than sequestering them to individual spaces in the house.
When you're doing that, can people build with a sustainable material in that price point or that floor plan, or can they get to the point where I guess it really doesn't matter? If you're 4,000 square feet, you could be a $2 million house, correct? And you could have a 4,000 square feet home, and you could be $500,000. Am I crazy?
No, that's absolutely correct. Price per square foot may make sense in the resale market. It doesn't make sense in the new construction market because, as you said, houses could be $300 a square foot and they could be $1,000 a square foot, but there's still a certain area.
Take me through. I'm your client, and I got deep pockets. So, and I'm looking to build a bad ass house. Am I telling you everything? Are you going to coach me and say this is what I want to do? Or do I give you my ideas? What's your process?
I need you to tell me your dream. I don't need you to sketch floor plans or things like that. So, the first part of my process is for me to get to understand my client and how they live. From that, I develop plans. And that could take 2 weeks or it can take 2 years. I always say my clients are either crockpots or microwaves. I have some people that I give something to on a Friday and they call me on Monday and say, let's do permit drawings. I have other people that say, I need a month to digest this. And I let them each act however they want to. I've done an 18,000 square foot house from the first meeting to permit drawings in 4 weeks. And I worked a lot and stayed up many hours. And I've done 3,000 square foot houses that take 6 months to develop.
So, in those, again, I'll take that, we'll call it a luxury home. What are some of the, I don't know if the word I want to say, coolest, most innovative things that were put into that design?
So I've done gymnasiums in the basement. I've done bowling alleys. I've done batting cages for professional athletes. So again, it goes back to what the individual wants in their house because I'm not a sports person, so I wouldn't put a batting cage in my house, but other people may.
Do you get involved with pools? Do you ever do indoor pools, landscaping, or do you have people that either you work with and then they deal with, or it's all in one package?
So with pools and landscaping, I usually design the areas for them, and then we bring in an expert in either a landscape architect or a landscaper who is designing the shrubbery that goes in there. Likewise, I'll design the pool in the house and say what I want it to look like, but then we bring in a pool construction company that actually designs the mechanics of it.
Do you have a signature calling card or a Steve Schill item that is in every house of your design?
There's something, we do houses that are contemporary, very traditional, and transitional. And I can't say that there's one signature item that says it's our house, but most people say that they can always tell one of our homes.
I can always tell. So when you started out, how would you classify the houses you started drawing? Were they just traditional saltbox colonials?
Very traditional colonials. 2,800 square feet, 4 bedrooms, four tiny bedrooms, a living room, a dining room, a kitchen, and a family room, and a 2-car garage.
Are do buyers today have the bedrooms grown exponentially and everything has a bath, or are people still like, well, I sleep in the bedroom, I need a nice sized bedroom, but I don't need a gymnasium for a bedroom, and my kids certainly don't need all that.
Bedrooms started off, I started my firm in 1991, and the houses I drew in the 90s, the bedrooms started to grow because people grew up in houses that had very small bedrooms, so they built big bedrooms. Then, after they lived there for a while, they realized that all we do is sleep in here and we don't need a gargantuan space for that. So, bedrooms are starting to, in my practice, recede again in size. The things that are growing immensely are master closets. I have houses where sometimes the master closet is bigger than the bedroom itself because people realize they don't have storage space. And in the old house that they lived in, they had boxes with clothing within the master bedroom.
Storage, I'm glad you brought that up. That is huge. And if you've ever been to a home where you couldn't put a broom in a pantry, that's all you had. How big is that today? Do people know that we need to have this whole area just so we can put our Christmas, we can put Easter, we can put the kids stuff if they ever come back? Is that a thing still?
Without a doubt. I mean, in most of my houses, there's a cleaning closet and a shoe closet and a coat closet, in addition to all the other closets that are in the house. Over the last couple decades, we've all seen storage places pop up all over at every highway interchange, and that's because people don't have enough storage space in their house. So
You're not
now
kidding.
it's better to build a slightly bigger house, and the money that you would spend on a storage building, you can just put that into your house.
So I've seen so many of your designs from when you started out to some of the things that you've done in Bay Village in the 3 to 4,000 range, and some of them are even 3,500. And I go through them, and I've been through them with you and the builder, and I tell you, Steve, this you knocked this out of the park. I can't believe this is a 3,500 square feet home, and it just flows. So from when let's say the 90s to now, what changed that these houses are just same size, but they seem so much bigger?
We pay particular attention to vistas and viewpoints. We make sure that as you walk down hallways and homes, you're not looking into a closet or a powder room, you're looking at a piece of art. And we're just always spending a lot of time developing perspectives in the house. So we know we're focusing your eye on one focal point or feature of the home.
Do you have, like, if I was coming and I'm a spec builder, do you have homes that I've got a 50, 60 foot lot, 100 foot lot? I'm not looking for custom. I just want something that is cost effective, looks great, and it's going to sell. Do you have a whole book of designs that you would sell someone in that range?
We used to do something like similar to that, but we don't do that anymore. Even if you're building a 2,000 square foot house, we're going to custom design it again. So we're not just putting a blanket out there and trying to catch everybody. We're going to specifically design a house that is appealing to the vast majority of people.
Do you think someday that if you were going to retire, you could put together the Schill architecture catalog and just sell your drawings?
Well, I'm not going to retire because I love what I do too much. My firm is myself and my daughter, who is a registered architect, and we have too much fun doing what we do. Could I do a book? Of course I could. I have thousands of houses I've designed in the last 30 some years, and some are still relevant.
Well, here's what I think we should do. I think I should be your partner. I'll pick up the drawings. We'll make it like a coloring book and Schill architecture, and I'll spin it and I'll split the proceeds with you. What do you think?
You can do that, and we'll call it Schill style.
I mean, I'm just thinking design basics, Frank Betts, Schultz, are those companies still around?
I'm sure in some fashion they are, but they're not as popular as they once were. They were like the forefront of a custom home without going to somebody like myself.
Exactly.
Now, most people are not afraid to spend money with a professional to get a professional design and not try and shoehorn their life into somebody else's vision.
Let's talk about today's building material. What do you like? What do you not like? What's trendy and what's going to stay with us in the coming years?
Well, the materials that are around now, a lot of them have been around for a very long time. They may have just been reimagined. Um, I like stone. I like siding, like a cementitious siding that has a great life expectancy with it. Starting to do a lot more slate roof houses, um, but there's a variety of materials, and it's the design of each home. A different material may be the most relevant.
So, how about if you could elaborate on this for me? A very hot buzzword: sustainability, sustainable material. It's like the new buzzword for maintenance free, with what we used to call maintenance free. Isn't it sustainable now?
Well, and yes, it's not maintenance free. It's limited maintenance. Sustainability is a buzzword. It's just a buzzword. I mean, there could be very sustainable materials and materials that say they're sustainable that aren't. It's a nice selling feature.
Brick is still in fashion, correct?
I'm doing a brick house right now. Yes, I would say in the last 10 years, stone has kind of taken over, but brick is still there.
Is it cost effective or just like the highest end that you could go on an exterior of a home?
Brick is one of the more expensive materials.
Stone, but the same.
But stone, there's there's aluminum siding now that is as expensive as brick, and it's not my mom and dad's aluminum siding. It's a different type of aluminum siding. But there's all types of materials and all types of price ranges, and that's the job for an architect to put together to make the budget work.
Can you take? Do you do remodeling?
Sure.
Could you take, for instance, my house, and you know my house well? What could I do to make my house more energy efficient today from when I built it, or more sustainable maintenance, limited maintenance? I think I've got it covered, don't I?
Well, the one thing that you can do that everybody could do is usually get a more energy efficient furnace, a two-stage furnace. Most people don't have those because they're a little more money. And when they built their home, that was one of those items on the budget that they kind of cut out really quick. Likewise, windows. Windows are the glass and the ceiling in windows is so much better now than it was even 15 years ago. So those two things could go a long way in making a house much more energy efficient.
And again, you can do that in a home that you've lived in. It's like you could come in and change all that out. Do you find, like today, do you ever work with an interior designer?
Sure. Most of my houses, the people need an interior designer. They can't. Everybody says that we like to pick colors or fabrics, and that's nice when you're doing one room. But when you're doing a whole home, and especially some of our larger homes, it can be overwhelming.
So, what are kitchen trends today?
Everything built in, flush, clean lines. I would say walk in pantries are starting to go away, or the traditional walk in pantry, and we're doing almost like a mini kitchen behind the main kitchen now.
I've
So
seen those.
that
I love those. I love those.
all the quote unquote dirty work gets done back there. So the kitchen, even when you're entertaining, looks like it's ready for a photo shoot. And also, if you are having your affair catered, the caterers can work in the background and not be in your kitchen while you're having a party.
Yeah, I've seen a couple that you've done, and a lot of those are nicer than a lot of kitchens that I go into on a daily basis. It's ridiculous. How about cabinetry? What is the hot cabinet right now?
I would say an inset cabinet. Um, Depending on where I'm doing a home in Ohio, there's different desires, whether it's a wood looking cabinet or a painted cabinet. But inset flat panel cabinets are a big hot ticket item right now with nice
Huge,
hardware on them, not
huge.
Home Depot hardware.
No, I gotcha. I gotcha. Um, again, you said painted cabinets. I see a trend with that. Are dark cabinets out? Dark wood cabinets? Are white cabinets completely gone? Because I still see that in a lot of builders' models that they're still doing the white. It's a look, the white shaker cabinet that you can see everywhere.
White, I think, has a cycle to it. I think a beige type of color is more appropriate, and it lives a longer life. White could be hot in 2023 and not so hot in 2028.
Granite or quartz?
I would say quartz is more fashionable now. Granite was my first house had granite countertops. The national builders have kind of made granite countertops rather commonplace, and people that want the next level usually opt out of that. Not always, but often.
Have you ever done anything? And again, it's more of an industrial. Do you ever do any cement tops for anyone?
Uh, sure, in 2007, and it was not so popular anymore in
Yeah,
2012.
gotcha.
Concrete countertops are probably good in bars or restaurants.
I agree with you. How about flooring? What's the trend with flooring today?
Wood. I mean, wood's been around forever,
It,
and I think it's going
it's
to be around
classic.
forever.
It's never going to go out of style. To me, what's let's go back to the 3/4 inch. What was it? 2 inch wide, like the Bruce flooring that was
Oh,
everywhere.
two
And
and a
now
half inch, three
two and
quarter
a half inch.
depth.
But the stuff you see today is it's gorgeous. How about luxury vinyl? Do you ever do anything? Oh, you probably don't put in any of your houses, but are you a fan of it?
I just completed a $2.5 million house that had it in there, and unless you were down on your knees, you couldn't tell if it was wood or luxury vinyl.
And again, from what some of the homework I have done is when you say vinyl, luxury vinyl, it's not cheap. It's expensive.
Same price as wood.
Yeah, it blew my mind. And you're right, it is beautiful. And do they go with it because maybe they have dogs, children, and again, my wood floors have been done twice. I probably got one more time that I can redo them, but they get the hell beat out of them.
They're usually put in areas. Sometimes they're put on the main floor of a house. They're usually put in lower levels where it's a little more rugged, or in back halls or things like that. So yeah, but they can go anywhere. But it's if you told me 10 years ago I'd be doing multi-million-dollar houses with vinyl flooring, I thought you would have been crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. Um, the other thing that has changed so much is and like we talked about energy efficiency. The way homes are insulated today are not what they were of the past. There's still blanket and blown insulation, correct? That is now the standard.
That's the code minimum way to insulate a house.
And Steve, what does code stand for?
Code is the minimally acceptable, well, in this case, thermal value that we're going to retain heat or cooling into a house.
Yeah, I brought that up because you'll always hear this is up to this is code, because this is code.
Code
It's
and quality are two different words.
yes, yes, and it's a buzzword that again a lot of people don't understand. But I get a kick out of it when I'll hear people say, "Well, this is code. It's bare minimum."
Code's the minimum so the roof doesn't fall on your head.
Is is tile still a thing? And the other thing that I have seen, and I think you showed me, was porcelain. Is porcelain the high end or natural type stones like the limestone, the slate? Is that still a thing?
That's each of those are still a thing, and it goes with the interior of the home, whatever the interior designer is going with. I mean, I do tile, I do porcelain, slate. It just depends on what our house is trying to achieve.
I know you do lots of different styles of residential architecture. I've seen your contemporary, which they're off the charts. I've seen your traditional. What is your favorite?
Personally, I love traditional. I live in a traditional home. My wife and I do, and I like that. I like a lot of heavy detail in a home. Um, Lately, people are liking a more streamlined house, and actually, contemporary houses are, in my opinion, more difficult to design.
Are they more difficult? Are they more expensive to construct than a traditional?
In many cases, they are because there are so many areas of glass. I construct the houses out of steel to resist wind loads and things like that, which boosts the cost up.
How about if I were to build another house, it would be a ranch. And to me, ranches, when I came into the business, you could only find ranches if you bought an old home. And then
Hmm.
we hit a niche building ranches, and it just went everywhere. Anytime I see a ranch today, we know they're more expensive than regular houses, but there's just something about a ranch with high volume ceilings that I they're my favorite style house.
Well, I mean, that's an easy way to accommodate aging or aging in place. A lot of our houses now, sometimes due to land constraints and sometimes due to style constraints, have elevators in them. So it makes a house that is livable for the remainder of your life.
So ranch, first floor, all bedrooms up. What do you do more of?
I'm doing a lot more all bedrooms up with elevators because usually all bedrooms up have better views.
All bedrooms up. Interesting. Steve, you do a lot on the lakefront. What is different in your design and in the specification for a lakefront home as opposed to a home you may do in Westlake, in Land's End?
I will say, even on the other side of Lake Road, um, I tell everybody Lake Erie is a unique microclimate, and the houses that are on the lake deal with weather that's coming 50 miles across Lake Erie from Canada, and they get beat up pretty bad. They're the buffer. So even on the south side of Lake Road, houses have a different microclimate. Um, my houses on the lake generally are just very weather tight houses. Costs more money to build, but one bad storm, you would spend that in remodeling a house. The money you're going to spend up in front to make it better from the get go.
Is there a lot of time and thought and design and meeting with the client when you have this beautiful lakefront home and limited with designs? Are you building that house to maximize the beauty of the views that the home site has?
Well, usually, what we're doing is opening up the whole north side of the house with glass to look at the water and the sky, and we're minimizing windows and fenestration on the south side facing Lake Road to keep prying eyes away, to keep traffic noise away, things like that.
Do you have to get involved with erosion or break walls? You ever do any like fantastic step down break walls with, small little houses, bars. You ever done anything like that?
Sure. There is an engineer that deals with the specifics of the mechanics of that, but we designed some pretty nice boathouses.
Boathouses with
Yes.
lifts and the whole. I mean, you could drop a jet ski or an actual small little boat.
We have some that have small boats. We have some that have big boats in them.
Is there a major problem with erosion in Lake Erie, or is it just specific areas?
Only in specific areas. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources puts out a map that shows coastal erosion zones, and there are areas that are more prone over the next 30 years to erode more than others. But it's all on a case by case basis.
Um, do you recall that one home? Like we've done a deal together where, and not mentioning any names, that there was an actual like cave inside the cliff. Do you remember
Mm-hmm.
that?
Sure.
And was that rare, or have you seen that up and down the coastline?
I've seen it a couple times, not often. I think it's more rare than it is a normal occurrence. But there's a few places where that exists. More towards the Avon Lake and East area because the shoreline doesn't have the high cliffs going west.
And you do a lot up at the islands in Sandusky, um, anywhere up there, don't you? Do a lot up there, don't
We
you?
do we do a lot. We've gone out to the islands. We do a lot on Catawba and Marblehead and Sandusky. We're actually finishing up a house in Sandusky tomorrow.
Isn't it just unbelievable what's happened out there and the amount? First of all, home prices have went through the roof out there. We think it's crazy here. It's insane there. And then been spending some time out there looking at homes. I'm just could not believe, because I never spent time there, these big, beautiful homes. And some that I've went by, I know I'm like, that's I would say to the Lord. At guarantee you that Steve built this house.
We There's one I could recall we did up at Catawba that the owners out of Columbus came to me and they wanted a 4,000 square foot weekend home to entertain their family and grandchildren. And by the time we were done designing it and we built it, the house turned out to be 8,900 square feet for a weekend home.
What? Wow. Is there different challenges up there than on Lake Erie, or same type of stuff?
Well, say similar things. Our houses up there usually have twice as many bathrooms as bedrooms because everybody needs a bathroom when they're up at the lake.
Was it difficult to get your trades up there, or they would just travel for you, or you had to find a whole new set of trades?
A little of both. They do travel. It's more expensive, obviously, when they do travel because they're spending 3 hours a day driving to and from work, which is not free. But if you desire to have perfection, you're willing to pay for that.
And again, I can't believe the amount of building going up there. There's also a lot of like tract homes that are going up in areas, and they're getting $500,000 for it, and they're selling them. They're selling them. No views, but they're selling them. So it just is nuts that place, that whole area is just not stopping.
It's a place people can get to every weekend. People are
It's
traveling less. That's an hour and 10-minute car ride away.
Yeah, and it is like being on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
In our short time of a summer when it's beautiful out, it's arguably as nice as any place I've been in Florida. You don't know
would
it.
agree with that.
You're on a boat. You're having a great time. The weather's beautiful. It's spectacular. It is absolutely spectacular. Okay, Steve. So please give me your blueprint to success. And to piggyback on that, Advice for young aspiring architects.
I think it's real simple. I think it's get up every day and go to work. And especially in today's world of social media, ignore the noise. There's always people that are going to say things that you don't want to hear. Just don't pay attention to it.
And advice for the student in architecture school?
Start young, start early, work hard.
Is traveling overseas or studying abroad in architecture a mandatory class?
No, not at all. I mean, it's very optional. And although I was very fortunate that my parents worked hard to get me there, I always tell everybody, looking back, it didn't teach me more architecture. It taught me more about myself. Real difficult to live overseas for an extended period of time and just have yourself every day.
All right, Steve, I think we should wrap this up. I want to thank you. I'm going to let you go back to coloring in your little coloring books or whatever the heck you're going to do the rest of the day. So how can people reach you? Why don't you tell people how to get a Steve Schill, your social channels? I follow you on Instagram and Facebook, and I love your posts every day. They are, if you love architecture and you want to see just cool homes, Steve, how do they follow you?
So I'm on each of those outlets at schillarchitecture.com. Our hashtag is SchillStyle.
SchillStyle. Again, thank you, Steve. I wish I could say it's been fun. It's been fun. I will talk to you soon. I appreciate it. You have a wonderful day. And
thank you for your time, and it was fun to be here.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Make sure to follow us on social media at MDV The Blueprint on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We post a ton of great content. And please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast channel so you never miss out on an episode. Thanks again, and see you next time.